Hey everyone, the defense of waiver is a legal concept that involves voluntarily giving up a right, claim, or privilege. In simple terms, it means that someone has intentionally chosen not to enforce a specific legal right or has acted in a way that suggests they do not intend to insist on that right. This can occur through words, actions, or even by failing to act when necessary. However, for a waiver to be valid, it must be intentional and not simply an oversight or accidental. As a defense, waiver can be used when someone is accused of breaching a legal obligation. The accused can argue that the other party waived their right to enforce that obligation, essentially asserting that the other party chose to relinquish their right to hold them accountable. This is particularly common in contract law. For instance, if a contractual obligation is not met, but the other party communicates that they are fine with the delay or non-performance, they may have effectively waived their right to enforce their obligation. For the defense of waiver to succeed, it must be shown that the waiver was intentional, that the other party had the right to enforce the obligation, and the accused relied on that waiver. To illustrate, consider a landlord-tenant scenario where the lease agreement requires rent to be paid by the first day of each month, failing which late payment penalties apply. If the landlord explicitly tells the tenant that they can pay by the 10th day of the month without penalties, the landlord has waived his right to enforce the late payment penalties for that specific instance. Another example could involve a construction project where the contractor is behind schedule, but the client explicitly states that they are more concerned about quality and do not mind the delay. In this case, the client may have waived their right to enforce the original deadline. A third example can be found in employment law. If an employer agrees to waive the notice period for the employee to give 3-month notice, the employer cannot later enforce that obligation as they have intentionally waived their right to it. The concept of waiver highlights the importance of clarity and communication in legal relationships. Courts will carefully examine the facts of the case to determine if a waiver was truly intentional. It is always advisable to document waivers in writing to avoid disputes and misunderstandings later. Waiver serves as a reminder to both individuals and businesses to be mindful of their rights and obligations. If you do not enforce your rights when appropriate, you may unintentionally lose the ability to do so. Clear communication, proper documentation, and where necessary, legal advice can help avoid such situations. Thanks for joining me in this video on waiver. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.